Wir haben wieder mal ein Interview für euch, heute hier auf leadlab.de und es handelt sich um Jade Avedisian. Wer Jade noch nicht kennt, sie ist eine junge Rennfahrerin aus Clovis, Kalifornien, die bereits einige Erfolge vorzuweisen hat. Unter anderem gewann sie 2023 die Extreme Outlaw Midget Series und ist damit die einzige Frau, der das bislang gelungen ist. Darüber hinaus halten Rennfahrer wie Kenny Wallace, Tony Stewart oder Dale Earnhardt Jr. viel von ihrem jungen Talent. Also, und jetzt wünsche ich euch viel Spaß mit dem Interview. Today, I'd like to welcome Jade Avedisian to LeadLab.de. She's one of the rising female talents in the US. So, Jade, thanks for taking your time for us Germans. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So, let's start at the beginning of your racing career. It's typical in motorsport that racing careers start with the influence of family members, and in your family, it was your father. And you've often said that your father bought you a quarter midget, which you drove in parking lots. And you didn't like it at first. What made you change your mind and become a racing driver?
Yes, I don't know. I think like when he first bought me a quarter midget, I was like super young. I was like 4 years old, and then he kept it around a little bit longer till I was seven, and I tried again, and then I finally liked it. So I think it was just like me probably being a little bit more mature. It was the same time I was like getting involved with like school sports and all that. So I felt like at the time it was just another hobby of mine that I had, and then obviously I loved it too. So I've started at seven, and every weekend since then, basically I'm have the same goal in mind to just win races. So I don't know. I don't really remember too much when I was the
Yeah.
difference from 4 to 7, but I would just say, I was a little bit more mature and just ready to kind of try something new and take on something new.
So you got more into it and it felt right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I definitely was really interested when I first started racing, but at the same time, I guess I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was 7 years old, and I don't think any 7 year old kind of knows what's going on. So yeah, throughout the years, even by the time I was 10, I knew that racing was the only thing I wanted to do. I played school sports and I had fun doing it, but racing was always my number one. So I would say by 10 years old or so, I was fully committed and wanting to race, and I just kind of stopped my other school sports and just try to focus on that.
Now you're the expert. That's a question that I ask for my followers. So in Germany or Europe, almost every racing career starts in go-kart racing. But you grow up in a quarter midget, and which is quite unique to the US. For our followers who have never seen one, could you actually explain what a quarter midget is?
Yeah, it's basically like a little go kart with a cage on
Yeah.
top though. So yeah, like obviously a lot of kids grow up karting and kind of anything between. But I kind of just did the quarter midget route because that's what my dad was a little bit more familiar to, and that was just a little bit more, I guess, known in our area where I grew up in California. So yeah, I would say that's probably why I went that route. But yeah, it's basically a go kart, but just with the cage on top.
Yeah. For example, a go-kart for oval racers, right?
Yeah, it's oval obviously. But yeah, the road or the go karts are usually road course stuff. But yeah, the quarter midgets have a cage and they're oval.
So then later you moved up to full size midgets. Things got serious, and we are talking about a car with roughly 400 horsepower that weighs almost nothing. Driving on loose dirt without wings. To a refined German circuit racer. That sounds like pure chaos, if you imagine that. Can you describe the feeling in the cockpit? What does it feel like to throw a car sideways into the corner at such high speeds, just inches away from your opponent?
Yeah, it's very different. Especially now that I'm kind of switched on to the pavement world. I just always think back like when I ran the midget, and some races were pretty wild, I guess, even myself, for just how the race kind of turned out. That now that I think about it, I'm like, geez, like that was pretty crazy actually. So yeah, it was just what you had to do, kind of in that form of racing. I always say this, but I always felt like when I was, racing midgets, I always feel to a point the person that runs the hardest and just kind of is a little bit, I don't know if wilds or just aggressive, like super aggressive. Whoever runs the hardest and is super aggressive usually wins the race that night,
Yeah.
to a point. So yeah, that's just how I kind of thought of it, all the way through my dirt career. And, most of the time it, helped, and sometimes it definitely hurt me. But
Yeah.
it was just kind of trying to find the balance, between that, back when I ran dirt. So, yeah, it's a crazy form of racing, crazy style of racing, and definitely a lot different than what I'm doing now.
So then in 2023, you actually made history in that kind of racing and you became the first champion to win. I have to read that name, the champion of the Extreme Outlaw Midget Series. Was that the moment when you realized, okay, I'm not just here, I can beat the best?
Yeah, I don't know if that was the moment. I feel like I've always, even from when I started racing, just had, confidence in anything I do. And not even just racing, even like the school sports I played. Like I always had, super, super high confidence. And, I don't know. I think it's maybe just how I grew up and how my parents kind of raised me. But, obviously, I think any kid would say this. I've definitely got humbled a lot for making mistakes or, not being the best that night. So, I don't know if that was, my moment that I thought, wow, like I won this race, but it's definitely, had benefited me a lot, confident wise
Yeah.
after I won that championship. But entering that year, I didn't feel any different than kind of after I won the championship. I've always just kind of been, confident and stuff like that. And I think, like I said, it's just kind of how I was raised, and how the family I've been around, my
Yeah.
parents, just from obviously a young age, and still to this day.
So, but would you describe it as a key moment in your career, or do you think it's another moment?
Yeah, I would say it was a key moment in my career for sure. Like, I don't think if I didn't win that championship and all those races that year, I don't think I would be, sitting here today,
Yeah.
and doing the stuff I would be doing this year. So yeah, I would say that was, a huge key of my, part of career of racing. That just kind of benefits me now to these days that I get to do this and, do it alongside with Toyota.
So then we go forward into your career. So last year's season, and you mentioned that before, you switched from dirt to asphalt and also tried road course racing. You went from driving a light, aggressive midget car to driving a heavy stock car. How difficult was it for you to reprogram your instincts, and did you have to unlearn something?
Yeah, I think just like the biggest thing I would struggle with last year is just like smooth everything out. Like my hands are, very choppy from dirt racing. My feet are very choppy from dirt racing, and obviously just the style of racing is, completely different. So yeah, there was, a lot of things I had to, change and, kind of just get better at, switching dirt to pavement. But if I got to redo it all, I don't think I would, do it different at all. I think, having my dirt background has helped me a lot. Obviously it's tough to kind of get through those, I guess, issues or problems of, just bad habits from it. But I feel like I'm, a lot different now of, the way I think or thinking about it. So yeah, I would do it the same way.
Yeah, can you give an example for something you have to reprogram in your mind? Something like driving a different style or
Yeah, the best way to put it is just like patience. I
yeah.
know that's, crazy to say, but you just have to have a lot more patience in, asphalt cars. The races are 200 laps, 100 laps, whatever it is. And, dirt races are 30 laps, and it usually only takes 15 minutes. So just to make it
Yeah.
through the whole race is different, for sure. And like I said earlier, like choppy hands, choppy feet. It's just kind of a habit that you have to have in dirt racing. And, I was kind of a victim of that. My hands were choppy, my feet were choppy. So, yeah, just kind of had to go back and just smooth everything out and put a lot of focus into that last year.
So, as a follow up to that, what are the general difficulties of switching between series frequently when you're climbing up the ladder, as apart from the technical aspect? Like you had the Daytona test, and maybe you can give an example and describe it on that.
Yeah, like the Daytona test was actually really cool. Obviously, I'd never been on a racetrack that big, so yeah, it was just cool to see, cool to feel it and kind of feel how the air works, through the drafting packs as well. So yeah, I feel like I learned a lot, that day, and I'm just glad I got to do it.
Yeah. Did you learn much about drafting and pack racing and something like that? Was there a moment like that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like we did a lot of single car stuff in the morning, and then basically all afternoon we just did drafting, and obviously I never really felt air at all.
Yeah.
I guess you really feel it in the late models, and you for sure don't feel it in the like non-wing dirt cars. So that was the first time I kind of got to feel a little bit of my car moving, and it was just good experience. So yeah, I feel like I said, I learned a lot that day that I can take on and just get better, and just go forward with it.
Yeah, so you mentioned Toyota before, and another popular Toyota driver is Christopher Bell, and maybe you know why I bring that example. Christopher Bell is also part of the Toyota Racing Development, was also part of the Toyota Racing Development Program, and has also a dirt track background. Sorry. Today he is a superstar in the NASCAR Cup Series. Do you look up to him as a role model, or and using him as a guide, or and is there perhaps something where you say, okay, I want to do that differently than him?
No, I think he's a great example. Obviously he has done a lot of hard work and succeeded at everything he's done. I mean, even his dirt days, whether it was a sprint car or the midget, he's succeeded, and even in the cup car now, he's succeeded. So yeah, he's done obviously a fantastic job, and those are the people I want to be, and those are the people I look up to that can even this past Chili Bowl, like obviously he'd run the Cup car all year and then just hop in the midget for the week and won the Race of Champions. So
Yeah, sure.
that stuff's not easy. I'm sure it's he would say the same, but he's just very dialed in and locked in, and knows what to do, and yeah, he's just obviously super talented.
So, and I've also got a question. You also working in the Toyota Racing Development Center. Like, do you have any story with a cup driver where he gave you advantage or something like that?
No, I don't really have any or stories, but yeah, the Toyota program's obviously really good, and just grateful to be part of it. I signed with them in the end of 2023 and been with them since. So yeah, it's just they gave me a lot of opportunities, and so much more than that.
Yeah, so you work with them together and they give you advices sometimes, as I heard. Yeah, then when we talk about popular drivers, there's also names like Dale Earnhardt Jr. And when legends like Dale Earnhardt Jr. invite you onto their podcast as a young talent to watch, or when Tony Stewart says publicly, I love watching her, does it put you under pressure, or is that the fuel you need?
I don't know. So hard to say. I definitely don't feel any pressure from it.
Yeah,
I look at it as it's really cool, but it could stop tomorrow. So you just
yeah,
got to keep on winning and doing a good job. So yeah, I think that's just kind of the way I look at it. I obviously take those guys' opinions like Tony and so many more. They've obviously done so much in the sport, and they're great people to look up to. But like I said, though, like at the end of the day, I just got to do my job, and to be talked about or looked at. You just got to win races and
yeah.
succeed in during the season.
I also heard you sometimes you aren't that a social media guy, but you sometimes read hate comments. So what does fuel more, the praise or the hate?
I love the hate, honestly. I know a lot of people laugh at it, but yeah, it just motivates me. And I don't spend all my time, looking at
Yeah,
social media. Obviously, social media is a big part of racing or just in general life, these days. But yeah, I like to look at it once in a while, and I think anyone would say this. There's gonna be someone hating in your comments, but I love it. It just fuels me to be better. I love to just prove them wrong, basically, and yeah, I kind of laugh at it too.
Now we talk about women in sports. Like you're, to be honest, there have been women in motorsports who have found success thanks to marketing. With you though, I get the feeling that you deliver results, right? Is it important to you to be seen as a female racing driver and to be an inspiration to young girls? And what are your thoughts on the current state of women in motorsports?
Yeah, I think it's important for me to set a good, I guess, role model or attitude on and off the racetrack, because there is a lot of young girls, looking up
Yeah.
to me and, so many other girls in the sport, right? But I just remember when I was a kid, I had my, favorite sprint car drivers, boy or girl, it didn't matter. And, I'd look up to them and, want to be them. And, how they treated people off the track is obviously, super important. So, now for it to kind of flip and younger kids, boy or girl, look up to me, I want to do my best to give them a good role model, hopefully on and off the racetrack. But yeah, outside of that, the whole female thing, I truly don't really care. I just care about winning, and being a good person, off the racetrack. So yeah, I don't really look at that. The only thing I look at that is about just being a good role model off the racetrack.
That's a great thing. So, and we also, when we talk about women, like there's also Isabella Robusto, and she is another fast woman in the Toyota environment, of course. You'll be on the same team next year with her. Will you work closely together and support each other, or will it be every woman for herself as soon as the helmet gets on? Will the dynamic be like, or did you have any experience at Daytona with her?
Yeah, well, I'm not racing Daytona this year, but yeah, I think, I have a lot of respect for, all my teammates at Nitro or even at
Yeah.
Wilson. Obviously Isabella has been there for a year or two, so she has a lot of experience, so it's a good person to lean on. But yeah, I think, you know, anyone's opinions or even my opinion, I feel like when everyone kind of gets on the racetrack, you just want to do the best, for yourself, for your team, for your family. So, yeah, like I said, though, I have good teammates to learn from and lean on. But yeah, I just want to go race, and I think all my teammates want to go race and just succeed.
So you also mentioned Nitro. So you'll be driving part time for Nitro in ARCA, and Nitro has merged with Venturini, one of the top teams in ARCA. So you have very good equipment in the field. What is your goal for 2026? Gaining experience or maybe some trophies?
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. I just kind of gotta see. I would say, looking at this year, my ARCA races are gonna be good experience. It's all aero places, and like I was kind of saying earlier, like I don't have, much experience with the aero side of things and dirty air. So, just kind of looking to improve on that. And obviously, I had a few ARCA starts last year, and I feel like they just weren't, I didn't put them together, very good at all. So just kind of putting these races together this year, I think or the ARCA races together is going to be, a big goal of mine. And I feel like if I just put them together and, make it through the whole race, I feel like we're good enough to compete for wins. As long as we have a good car and, like I said, just put the whole race together and be smart at it.
We've talked about ARCA, and now imagine where will you, when we meet again for a video call in 5 years, where will you be? Will you be like racing in the NASCAR Cup Series on Sundays? And what does your future look like? And what is your plan to get that goal of the future?
Yeah, I don't really, stress about my plan too much. I just kind of leave it up to, everyone at Toyota and my team over there. But, it's so hard to say where I'm going to be in 5 years. Obviously, my goal is to race on Sundays in the Cup Series, but I just know if I win, and the late model or the ARCA car, I get there sooner. So
Yeah.
I don't know the timeline. I just focus on, doing well and, winning and speeds up the process.
So do you have a dream team where you keep an eye on? Maybe there I will be at that team sometimes, or is there something like that?
Not really. Obviously, I hope I am good enough to be with Toyota, for my career. But yeah, it's so hard to say, right? I couldn't even tell you where I mean, I could tell you where I hope to be in 5 years, but
Yeah, sure.
um, it's just a dream, and you gotta just do well. And I think this year is a good year and kind of a crucial year for me. On the late model side and the ARCA side, but like I keep saying though, at the end of the day, I'm confident that I can win as long as I just do my part and just always have good people around me. So yeah, just kind of focus on what's in the present and just what's my goal and task of this year so far.
If we keep an eye on the Cup Series, what would you like the Cup Series future to look like? Because Cup Series recently has undergone some serious changes. So, what would you like to see? More road courses, maybe the return of Bristol Dirt, or another championship format? Something like just an imaginary example.
Yeah, the Bristol Dirt would be pretty cool. I liked racing or watching that race, but yeah, I think they have a good mixture. They obviously have super speedways, aero places, road courses, short track stuff. So yeah, I think their season and their tour is takes really good drivers to do all kind of disciplines of racing. Obviously, road courses are tough, and I feel like a lot of or just NASCAR people, including myself, kind of struggle on that, especially if you don't grow up road course racing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't have much an opinion of that. I just I like what they're doing, and I think the chase for the championship deal. It's just cool to see a change. And yeah, just excited to watch it this year.
So you think the change to the chase is a good thing, or what do you think?
Yeah, I would say it's a good thing. I think obviously the fans wanted that, most of the drivers wanted that, so yeah, just yeah, I don't know. I don't have much of an opinion of it because I'm not in that situation racing it, but yeah, if I was in that situation, I think the chase I would like that a lot more.
Okay. So then we've reached the end of our interview, and I have one final question. So Germany is known as the land of the Autobahn and the Nürburgring Nordschleife, also known as the Green Hill. What would you do, especially as a racer in Germany?
Oh gosh,
I
I
know it's
don't
a
even
difficult question.
I don't even know. I don't know much about Germany, honestly. I've never been
So
there. Never had really any friends go there, so I'm not too sure.
yeah, we have like the Nürburgring Nordschleife or the Autobahn where you can drive like hell and no speed limit. And yeah, maybe you've driven some German tracks in iRacing or something like that.
Nope, I can't say I have, honestly.
Okay.
I don't have
Yeah.
an answer on that one because
Yeah.
I'm not too sure, honestly.
Maybe you find something like that. I can maybe try the Sachsenring, which is from my yeah, where I live. So, and that was the final question. So thank you very much for taking your time. Thank you for being patient with me. Ich hoffe, ihr hattet Spaß mit dem Interview und konntet Jade ein bisschen besser kennenlernen. Ich fand es auf alle Fälle sehr interessant, mit ihr zu reden und denke, sie ist ein Talent, das man definitiv im Auge behalten muss. Also schreibt's mal in die Kommentare, was ihr von Jade haltet, und wir sehen uns beim nächsten Mal wieder.